China's EV giants shift gears toward the UK as tariff troubles mount in the US and Europe. If there's one thing that's certain about the automotive industry right now, it's that nothing is certain. The EV revolution has severely disrupted the market, and now global tariffs are posing challenges that could be existential for some companies. Even before the tariff wars, one of the biggest threats for European and American automakers was the inexorable rise of Chinese EV producers. The EU and the US fought back with protectionism, but one country hasn't, and it's looking like an increasingly tempting market as a result, the UK. You won't see many cars from China on US streets, and few Chinese companies are contemplating launching EVs in America. Joe Biden already implemented a 100% tariff on Chinese EV imports in 2024, and the latest additional import taxes from the Trump administration have made the U.S. car market an impossible one for Chinese newcomers that don't have local factories. So this is unlikely to change for the foreseeable future. Europe has been a more successful target for Chinese-owned automakers, with BYD, MG, Geely's Polestar, Zeekr, and Lynk & Co., plus NIO, XPeng, and Great Wall Motors all launching in the EU. Realizing the danger to indigenous brands' nascent EV offerings, Europe imposed up to a 35.3% tariff on top of the existing 10% on Chinese imports, citing governmental subsidies as an unfair advantage. This has dampened China's enthusiasm, but not killed it. The tariffs vary with the level of subsidy, so state-owned SAIC has received the full 35.3%, while privately owned BYD's tax is 17%. This also hasn't applied to hybrids. So, in the EU, Chinese manufacturers have started to shift attention to this drivetrain type instead. European EV opportunities. Norway has been the European poster child of EV adoption, with 84.1% of sales in March 2025 being all-electric. Combined with other plug-ins, the figure was 93.2%. But Norway is a small country, with a population of 5.57 million and just 128,691 new passenger car registrations in 2024. France and Germany, despite having much lower BEV market shares, have been the most lucrative sales prospects thanks to much larger populations. But in 2024, the UK became Europe's largest BEV market, with 381,970 sales, overtaking France, 291,143, and Germany, 380,609. This has been despite direct subsidies ending a few years ago in Britain. Zeekr, a challenger brand from Chinese behemoth Geely, had initially been non-committal about selling in the UK, instead focusing on the smaller markets with high EV market share. When we launched into our first markets of Norway, Sweden, and the Netherlands, the goal was to establish our brand, says Lothar Schuppet, acting CEO, Zeekr Europe. We chose small markets with the highest EV adoption. Our strategy was to move from there to bigger markets, when we felt we understood the customer. Germany, the UK, and France are the three big markets. You lose a lot of trust from a huge population in Europe. While Chinese EV brands have tended to launch in Norway first over the last few years, MG, a brand from Chinese automotive giant SAIC but with strong British heritage, has been doing extremely well. With BEVs at the forefront, the company had a comfortable 4% of the UK market in March 2025, thanks to bestsellers like the MG4, matching traditional automakers Ford and Mercedes-Benz. However, BYD is already making even better inroads, with 5% of the UK market having only arrived in the UK in March 2023. BYD started selling in Europe in late 2022. In fact, BYD sold more cars in March 2025 than for the whole of 2024. That share is likely to increase as the company previously lacked one of the most popular body styles from its EV range, a mid-size SUV. BYD has just launched its Sea Lion 7 into this space. Although the price pits it squarely against Tesla's market-leading Model Y, XPeng is another Chinese automaker that initially showed little intention of selling in the UK when it launched into Europe in 2021, again starting with Norway. But the company brought its G6 SUV to the UK in February 2025. This is another Model Y competitor, but XPeng is pricing below the equivalent Tesla. Leapmotor is a slightly different proposition. Although the cars on sale in Europe are manufactured in China, the European entity is 51% owned by Stellantis. More Chinese EV brands on the way to the UK. The growing value of the UK market has led Zeekr to become more explicit about its plans to launch there. Obviously, we need to invest in right-hand drive, says Choupette, but we already have this in Malaysia, Singapore, and Australia, so we have taken the first step. The potential is there because the UK has confirmed it will not follow the tariffs in Europe, and that gives an additional business potential. It also gives a little risk because competition will be fierce. Everyone has realized the UK is a profitable market. In virtually the same week as BYD launched the Sea Lion 7 and Zeekr its 7X, yet again a mid-size SUV. Another huge Chinese automaker made its debut in Europe and the UK. Changan was the first manufacturer to build cars in China in the 1950s, under a different company name. The company is introducing 3 brands to Europe: Deepal, Changan, and luxury Avatar. The first car to arrive in the UK will be the Deepal S07, which is, unsurprisingly, a mid-size SUV in the same space as the Tesla Model Y. The UK is an increasingly important EV market, says Bertrand Bach, Global Design Director of Changan. We are launching across Europe, but the UK will be a valuable part of that strategy. Zeekr has only said it will be coming to the UK in the next 18 months, which would mean before the end of 2026. We want to distance ourselves from being just the next brand exporting from China to the UK, says Choupette. We believe our price and value proposition is high in terms of build quality, but we cannot deny that a lot of consumers are saying this is the next Chinese brand. However, we are part of the Geely Group with a lot of expertise of European customers. Geely owns Volvo, Polestar, and Lotus. That's all. Don't miss the chance to stay updated on the latest in EV innovation and global trends. Like, share, and subscribe now, and join the conversation about the future of electric vehicles.